California's pajama boy governor, Gavin Newsom, wants to suspend school fitness tests because they could lead to bullying. So let me see if I got this straight. Jumping jacks are a menace, but forcing adult sexual issues on kids in elementary school with no opt-out for parents, that's progressive? Gotcha. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program of its kind, generically speaking, that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. Seriously, you think about how important education is, no one's doing what we're doing, which means many more of you should be watching. Today, we're talking about a new poll that shows there is basically one presidential candidate most college students can get behind. And if you know college kids, just think the most embarrassingly socialist one, and you'll have your answer. Plus, an elementary school faces the wrath of Disney thanks to a fundraiser. And who says kids have to grow up, especially when we now have merit badges for adults? But we start good old California, where we always start, it seems, where the state's governor has ordered school fitness tests to be halted over fear of body shaming and gender identity discrimination. So all of California's anti-obesity measures, all of California's tisking us that these kids are too passive, they're not getting enough exercise, they're not eating Michelle Obama's lunch program and then starving themselves into anorexia. Now Gavin Newsom puts a halt because LGBTQ, particularly trans kids. If you're a trans boy, if you're a boy who becomes a trans girl, by definition, you're going to be heavier because you're male. But now you're a girl. And so what is Gavin concerned about? That we are going to be fat shaming LGBTQ kids. That's why now we're putting the halt through the year 2024. They're going to take 4 years away from kids and exercise in the school because some chunky boy who wants to be a girl might be fat shamed.
Yeah, so these physical fitness tests, we've all taken them as children. You run the mile, you do a shuttle run, you have to do how many pull-ups you can do, all of this we've been doing for decades and decades, and yet now, because the LGBTQI play whatever alphabet game, they are saying it's discriminatory because, as you indicated, they would do the BMI, which the body mass index is not a good indicator of fitness anyway. But it's going to be discriminatory because of the gender non-binary students. And of course, in true bureaucratic fashion, it will take them 4 years to study whether or not this is encouraging bullying against these students.
And I hope this is one more piece of evidence that the primary purpose of your American schools is not anything other than mainstreaming sex, sexual identity, and progressive values. This is exactly what they're doing now. Notice how everything dances to the tune of the LGBTQ community. They're not everything. They're not the least bit interested, other than every February Black History Month, right? Or we saw last week. You've got the Black Lives Matters and all the Black Lives Matter week across the country. Other than racially apologizing to non-white kids and stigmatizing white kids, the only other real serious purpose of the public schools now is to foist sex on your kids and to push an LGBTQ agenda. Literally from top to bottom, that's what we're doing.
And if you want to spin this whatever way you want to spin it, you could make the argument that, well, if we would keep these physical fitness tests that encourages competition, and especially among teenage boys or middle school boys where they want to be the best at these things, we can't have that, especially in California, because everyone needs to be like Gavin Newsom, pajama boy.
But look at how ridiculous this is, that they're not going to shame kids who happen to be transgender. Because again, if you're a transgender girl you're a biological girl who pretends to be a boy, the odds are that you're going to weigh less than most of the other boys and vice versa. So you see how scrupulously careful Gavin Newsom is not to cause hurt feelings. And yet, when a 17-year-old boy decides all of a sudden he's a girl and runs track, then he deserves all the accolades. Okay. Talk about shaming all the other girls, right? When you put this muscular boy in girls' sports, notice how Gavin Newsom is 100% behind that kind of shaming. Because what you're telling those girls is that you're not girl enough. That this kid who couldn't even make the track team as a boy is now setting state records in girls' sports. And your job as girls is to suck it up, Buttercup. You see again how hypocritically, colossally contradictory all this stuff is. And it's only geared to protecting the rights and the feelings of trans kids. And everybody else is screwed. If some boy comes and takes you, you've been training as a girl all your life, and you've risen to the top of female high school sports achievement in your sport, and all of a sudden this boy hops over there and beats you by 3 times the time, so you're screwed. We're not going to worry about you and your body image. You're a young girl, like we had a story about a couple months ago. You're a young girl who doesn't want to be in a bathroom with boys, right? Talk about shaming, right? Now you got to sit there and change in showers with naked boys. That's not the kind of bullying. That's not the kind of shaming that Gavin Newsom gives a rip about. How dare you? But if for whatever reason, right, we tell a transgender, a boy who becomes a girl and then is a little heavy for the girl weights, to tell him that that's now got to stop the entire physical fitness program in California because of that one hurt trans kid's feeling.
I think Newsom, though, may have accidentally solved the entire problem, because if we're not going to have these tests, or we don't care about what physical fitness is for these kids anymore, we won't even need gym class, so the kids won't have to change in front of anyone. Problem solved.
And wouldn't that be the solution, right?
Exactly.
One of the things we talked about a lot during the Common Core era was the degree to which things like recess were being sacrificed for kids to learn this authoritarian way of doing things like math, utterly unnecessary. So on the one hand, you see how we speak out of our mouths. There's this huge crisis of obesity. There's this huge crisis that our kids are getting too much screen time, not much running around. And what running around there is in California is going to be put on hold because a trans kid might get his feelings. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Feelings hurt, right? There's a lot more hurt feelings in those schools for all the things the liberals are doing that the liberals could care less about. They've got one demographic that they're paying attention to.
This is true. And by the time those kids are getting up into college, they're just going to continue to be sitting in their seats and not doing any physical activity. And then that's how they're going to start to prefer Bernie Sanders. Speaking of someone who does nothing. A new poll out of Iowa, because we just had the Iowa caucuses, obviously shows that the college students like Bernie. I am shocked in the least. But the Chegg College Pulse poll had support for Bernie Sanders at 35% among the Iowa Democratic and Democratic-leaning college students. And the same poll estimated that Sanders' support among Democratic and Democratic-leaning undergrad students nationwide to be 43%.
Why is Bernie Sanders always shouting at me? He is the quintessential old man, right?
He's putting
Socialism.
Yes, he is.
Free things for everybody, right?
This is true.
He in every way, the unkempt, the uncombed, the constant yelling. I mean, Bernie Sanders he's like Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets, right? I don't know which one he is. He's not the short one. He's the tall one. Statler? Waldorf?
I don't know which one.
But with the wispy, out-of-control, fluffy hair.
That's true.
He's a lunatic.
And this is why the college kids clearly want him, because he's a lunatic and he's just free, free, free. College is a right. Yeah. Sure, Bernie.
I mean,
sure.
You would think, given the way we teach college and high school, the kind of things we're pushing, like we just saw with Gavin Newsom, you think those kids would all gravitate to Buttigieg, right?
Buttigieg.
I mean, Booty Judge.
Mayor Pete. You
would think, right? Because he's slick. He's kind of he's kind of.
No, but the thing about Pete is he's the nerd in class.
Yeah,
he's the one going, "Excuse me, teacher. Actually, you were supposed to give us a test today."
But he's a gay nerd.
That's what makes him even elevated to the level he is now, because he was mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah.
Who?
Exactly.
Where?
So here you got a guy in Bernie who is a multimillionaire, number one.
Yep.
Number two, he's never actually had a serious job outside of the public sector. He's the guy that Bernie's yelling at, right? People who have abused the system.
He's yelling, he's in a mirror.
He's that guy, right? On top of the fact that he did his honeymoon in the Soviet Union, one of the most brutal regimes in the history of the 20th century, and he went there under Soviet control to have his honeymoon. This would be disqualifying for almost anybody else. He systematically refuses to criticize deaths in the name name of socialism and communism. He blames all the world's faults on America. Why wouldn't college kids, given the education they get, why wouldn't they support that? And why wouldn't a typical college kid, with the monolithic one-sided liberal education of universities, why would the typical college kid not be able to see that hypocrisy? Because we don't teach them critical thinking. We teach them blind reverence for anybody who waves the socialist flag.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll see tonight, actually, New Hampshire is happening right now, the first official primary. And we'll see if they can get it right because we know Iowa couldn't. But in all the college polls there, they have Bernie at 30%, 29, 28%, leading the way. And then Pete the Nerd Buttigieg is right behind him.
But, the funny thing is that New Hampshire's his stomping ground. It's one state away from Vermont, right?
They're pretty much the same. Everyone mixes them up. So let's be honest.
If he was going to do really well, this would have to be it.
Should.
And that's not that impressive to me.
Yeah,
with all the one-sided kind of indoctrination they're getting in the school, the fact that he's only getting 30% of the college kid vote, that there are college kids willing to look around. I suppose a lot of that has to do with the women's movement, right? No more white men. And that's another thing. He's a white man. He's an old white man. He's the very thing. That's what destroys me about Bernie Sanders. The very thing he says he hates is exactly what he is, and there's no way he can get out of that box. The fact that many kids support him is pathetic, too.
This is true. You know what else is pathetic? What's happening at Disney. And what Disney is doing to schools. Because we have not Hakuna Matata like we should. We have Emerson Elementary School in Berkeley, California, which hosted a Parents' Night Out fundraiser, and they wanted to show, and they did show, the 2019 remake of The Lion King.
See, the first thing I'd like to say about this movie before we get to the story is why aren't progressives really angry at it? I mean, that scene right there, if that were done in any other format, there would be howls of indignation about the idea of a kinghood. Why are all the other animals in the jungle bowing and scraping before this cub? And the cub that happens to be a boy. Why in the world is this kind of autocracy being pushed here? Well, because he's Simba, right? And he's a good king, right? The idea that he's going to be a good king. But still, all the things that progressives say they hate, that kind of autocracy is exactly what that movie celebrates. So that should be bothered. And the gender disparity. It's Simba, not Simba. What would be the girl version of Simba?
Well, he marries, what, Lila?
Lila? I don't know. I've never seen the stupid movie, but that's the first clip I've ever seen from it. And that's what you're going to put forward? It seems to me to be fairly undemocratic, which is what the left is always screaming about. But I ask myself this question about the story. You know what happens when you appropriate somebody else's work.
Yeah, so here's
just because it's a charity, right? Go ahead.
Well, here's what happened. Basically, and this is where it's kind of funny to me, is they had this Parents' Night Out. They decided to show the movie. Everything seemed fine. They raised $800. Yay, fundraising. 2 months later, they get an email. It says they need to pay $250 for illegally screening the movie, and any other future screenings they would do would cost them $250 as well. And so the email was sent by the Movie Licensing USA, and they informed Emerson faculty that the company had received an alert that The Lion King was screened at this event. And so now they're supposed to be paying this money because they need legal permission and all this. This happens every single day in classrooms because we don't teach our kids. We just throw movies on. Is that considered illegal screening?
I do think there are some exceptions for educational purposes.
What movies are educational purposes?
Well, I mean, as a Shakespeare professor, if I'm teaching a Shakespeare class, right, and I want to show Kenneth Branagh's Henry V or clips from it, you could make an argument that's right.
Yeah.
But the other thing, too, is when you're showing them movies in educational settings, you're not making money off it, right? You're not fundraising. If I charged every kid in my Shakespeare class $20 or $10 to watch the Henry V, then damn well right.
No one would show up.
Well, no one would come, but damn well right they would demand that I pay them something. So there are differences for educational purposes. To me, it makes it makes the studios look like greedy, money-grabbing pigs. But Did you need this to know that that was true?
No, but the spin on this entire thing that made me just laugh is, of course, let's talk about politics with this because it's all about schools being underfunded and how dare you. The Berkeley City Council member and who's also an Emerson parent, Lori Drost, took to Twitter and said, the fundamental message is this. It's absurd that PTAs throughout California have to raise money, a lot, to pay for teachers and financial scholarships when this can be easily remedied through investment in our public schools.
In other words, we don't mind paying the $250 to Hollywood. But the bottom line is that if you suckers in California paid enough taxes, and let that sink in, California is not paying enough taxes. If you suckers in California paid enough taxes, we wouldn't have to steal intellectual property from Disney.
Well, it seems that her tweet worked because it looks like Bob Iger, who's the CEO of Disney, actually saw it and has apologized essentially to Emerson Elementary School PTA, and he says he's going to personally donate to their fundraising initiative. So it looks like in the end, we have Hakuna Matata.
This next story is the exact thing we've been saying for months now, that we've lost our ever-loving mind in this country because we're treating children like adults, right? We're sexualizing them. We're exposing them to the horrors of global warming. We're scaring them to death in kindergarten and first grade. We're really besieging our children with really, really adult information. And by the same token, we're treating our adults like spoiled little babies. Every one of the Democrat candidates wants to waive your adult student loan debt because, you know, I should be allowed. I'm 18. I should be allowed to take out $100,000 in loans to go to a college.
Sure.
And you should have to pay me back for that, right?
Dang, Skippy.
So now we've got the situation where they've created adult merit badges. So you can get a merit badge now to make yourself feel good if you're an adult for doing things that, you know, little kids ought to be able to do.
It's absolutely insane, and it's probably a giant joke, but it is a giant joke because we need to make ourselves as supposed to be adults, feel better about doing the most menial of tasks, such as, I tried my best. Here's your adult merit badge.
Yeah, here's your list. 30 different things that you could earn a merit badge for. Some of my favorites, I tried my best, right? I didn't succeed. I tried my best. Failure gets me a merit badge. What else?
Well, I did it myself. So that's I tried my best, but then if you actually accomplished, well, I did it myself then. So it's kind of like that should be a whole set.
How about I went makeup free?
Did you?
See, actually putting your makeup on is, you see these women when you're driving to work and they got one hand on the steering wheel and they're painting their faces?
That's
right?
really, and sometimes
it is
men.
Scary.
But yeah, it's scary to watch.
But the point is that not doing something now earns,
yes!
Not doing something earns you a merit badge. Go back to that list.
Well, I would say the fact that I minded my own business. No one can do that. In social media land, you can't mind your own business anymore.
How do you square minding my own business with social justice activism, which says you should be in everybody else's business? Oh, isn't that kind of selfish?
Well, I saved some money, and I paid with cash.
I made coffee.
Hey, you know
what? As opposed to buying it, I suppose.
It doesn't say I made good coffee, because everyone can make very crappy coffee, but it takes skill to make good coffee.
And how about getting an award for being on time for work? I showed up.
I don't get that award.
On time. I made it to work on time. And for that, I need to be rewarded.
Give me a patch.
Yes, well,
the
time.
One day.
Right, being on time, of course, is an aspect of white supremacy.
That is white supremacy.
Told.
Yeah, it's true. And my favorite is eating a vegetable, I think.
Eating a vegetable.
I will get that.
And
Give me that patch.
Go back to that list because your rather nerdiness.
Yep.
I mean, you don't use shopping carts. You're one of these cloth bag people. You never use makeup, right?
This is true.
Let's see. What else do you do on that? You always try your best.
I used a coupon.
You've used
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
You're tighter than the carbon it takes to make diamonds. Let's see what else do you do. You're always packing your lunch.
I call my mom.
You call your mom. You save money. You're Scrooge.
Yep. I respond to emails when they...
You don't use credit. You always pay with cash.
I look forward to getting my entire sash full of my patches.
What would be the Eagle Scout equivalent of these merit badges? The dodo? The dodo? If you could become an Eagle Scout when you get all the merit badges in action. This is the dodo.
The level of dodo?
You have reached the level of the extinct dodo bird.
That sounds good.
They couldn't fly, but they kept on trying.
I did it myself.
Merit badge.
And that's going to wrap up this Tuesday. If you like this episode, please help us out by sharing the Dr. Duke Show and let us know what's your favorite patch. The Dr. Duke Show, sharing the episode is the fastest way for others to stay educated on what we're talking about every day.
If you're a fan of the Dr. Duke Show and you have a business, and let's be clear, the intellect it requires to watch the show means that you are self-sufficient. So share the wealth. Let us advertise for you. We will make you bigger than you are. Consider advertising with the Dr. Duke Show. Visit freedomproject.com/advertise. That's freedomproject.com/advertise. And look, we got a website. That means we're right. We're legit, right? We got a website. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, you will earn a merit badge if you simply stay educated, my friends.